Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Going to Bat with Team Irie. This is episode number 42. If you've missed any of the previous episodes, you can scroll down the foundation page here and watch some of those. And if you're interested in some of the upcoming episodes, just keep an eye out. We usually post those the day of or the day before to let you know who's going to be on here. And also, if you'd like to check out our website about some of our other events that we do through the year, when we're allowed to, you can go there and also donate to our foundation, which we raise money for spinal cord injury research and also high school baseball and softball scholarships. The website is dif35.org. Tonight's guest is none other than Darrel Chaney. How you doing tonight, Darrel?
I'm doing great, David. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you coming on, and you as a part of the Big Red Machine, and I'm trying to get every one of the Big Red Machine here, so maybe I'll do it before long. But I really do appreciate you coming on, and we usually start off, by getting to know, Darrel Chaney or whoever we interview a little bit, and work your way up to the majors. But the minor leagues, we usually start there, and I was looking, and your minor league 1 year, I believe you hit 23 home runs before they called you up. What did you attribute that many home runs to in that one season?
Well, that was in Asheville, North Carolina, and if anybody's been to Asheville, North Carolina, it's up there in the mountains and the air is real thin. That's what I could contribute it to. Oh, I was still one of those younger guys back then. When I was in high school, I hit home runs. Both sides of the plate, right and left-handed, and so I felt like I had a lot of power. And but when I got to professional baseball, it's a little bit different world. And but I found in Asheville that the ball traveled real well. And I can remember about halfway through the season, Sparky Anderson was our manager, and he said, "I'm going to shock the baseball world." I said, "You are? What are you going to do?" He said, "Well, I'm going to hit you cleanup." And I was struggling. I was only hitting around 200 at that time, and he thought that. But a lot of times, even though I was hitting 200, I got some real clutch hits. So and if you look back at my career, even in the big leagues, I got a lot of 2-out hits. I don't know why, but and I did. Maybe not a lot to some people's extent, but for a guy like me, it was a lot. But in Asheville, when Sparky put me in the, I don't know, I maybe had about 8 home runs. It was at the All-Star break, and he put me in that 4th spot, and boy, I took off. I was hitting balls out of the ballpark right and left. I think I hit 12 home runs at home and 11 on the road, something like that. So there are other ballparks that I took them out of the yard on, but I gotta think that the thin air up there in Asheville really played a major part in those dingers.
That's pretty good. And I was going to ask you too, to let people know, you play for the Reds, you play for the Braves, but you have an Angels hat on.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, I got a purpose of wearing it out. I try to do this now. Some people might remember me playing with the Reds and the Braves, but I've got a grandson named Chase Chaney, who was drafted right out of high school over 2 years ago now. He's 20 years old now. He got drafted out of high school by the Angels in the 14th round. And they gave him a good amount of money, and they gave him 4 years of guaranteed college when he's done playing at any university in the country, all expenses paid. So it's a pretty good deal, and you package it all together. And he wasn't a pitcher most of his young life. He was a position player, shortstop. But his junior year in high school, his baseball coach used to play for the Rockies. Got his highest AAA ball. He was a pitcher. He said, "Chase, why don't we throw you on the mound here at the end of the season and see what you can do, because he's got a great arm." So he got on the mound, and he fell in love with pitching. And with the pandemic going on now and what they've done with the minor leagues, shut them down, and then they're not paying the kids. They've made it really tough on them. And I feel for Chase. He's trying to live his dream. Chase's dad, my son Keith, also played pro ball for 2 years in the Braves organization. He signed his junior year out of college as a free agent. So we're proud to say that we've got 3 generations in our family that have played professional baseball. So Chase is doing good. He's topped out last week, throwing in a live session to other pro ball players here in the local area, the Atlanta area, and he topped out at 94. He's got a really good slider, and he's developed a changeup that just the bottom drops out of it. So they videotape these performances and they send them on to the Angels, and the Angels seem to be pretty pleased with what he's doing in spite of what's going on out there and not being able to play. So Chase doesn't think they're going to allow the minor leagues to come back at all, even in an instructional league or fall ball or winter ball. So he's really, really hoping and praying that this thing gets all taken care of and he can play baseball next year, go to spring training.
And that's pretty good genes when you talk about 3 generations of pro baseball players. That's pretty good genes.
Well, we think so. And my son was a pretty darn good college shortstop, and he played a couple years of A ball, and he told me he was a junior in college when he signed. So he said to me one year he's getting ready to hang him up already, and I says, what are you hanging him up for? He said, well, Dad, I'm 22 years old. Where were you when you were 22? And I said, well, I was in the big leagues. And he said, how many years had you been there? Well, I was my second year in the big leagues. I was in the big league for 2 years. He says, Dad, I'm down here in A ball, and I'm playing with 17, 19-year-old kids from the Dominican that are, impact players. And Keith is one of those guys where you had to watch him play a lot to understand how good he was. Because he had the fundamentals down. He wasn't flashy. He could bunt, he could hit and run. He had a little pop. And he ended up playing shortstop and second base at Pulaski. But he called me up one day and he said, I'm coming home. I'm going to get married, go back to school, and I'm going to be an educator. And he's been a high school principal all his life since then, and a darn good one. So he had a pretty good ride there. He's impacted a lot of lives by being a high school principal. Probably more lives than he would have been a professional baseball player. Who knows? But I'm real proud of him. I'm proud of all of them.
That's really great. After baseball, if you don't play baseball your whole life, there is other life that you can do things in life, and seem like he's really done a good job. Jimmy Likens here, local person up here in Lewis County, he said, I think Darrel may have been in basic training or the Army with Bill Tom Cooper, which was a former mayor here in Vanceburg. Seemed like I remember Bill Tom telling me this years ago. That's something that Jimmy Likens had commented over here on.
Well, I can't recall that name, but back in those days, a bunch of us got in the reserves to hopefully not detour our baseball careers. Although I signed up for the Army in 1967 in February, and the recruiter told me you'll probably not have to go active duty until the season's over. I said, that's great. And after first week of AA ball, I was in Knoxville, Tennessee. I got activated and went on my basic training in AIT, and I missed the rest of the season. So no telling how great I would have been had I been able to play ball in 1967.
Yeah, I know that. We'll blame it on that anyway. But you done pretty well though for yourself. Besides that, but you also got some Big Ten offers with football. I mean, if you stuck with football and decided to play football, do you think you would have been an NFL prospect in that?
I really do. We'll never know. I mean, every time I went 0 for 4, I thought, why didn't I go to college and play football? But I was a quarterback and a safety on defense, and with my good hands and all, I intercepted a bunch of passes. I think I intercepted 27 in my high school career, and we were undefeated my senior year in football, state champs, and I made the Parade Magazine All-American team, first team, and which I had no idea that was going to happen. And then, the bio they had on me was he's a magician with the ball, because I like to bootleg it and stick it in the guy's stomach, pull it out and throw a pass and those kinds of things. So I got a lot of offers. I got letters from all the Big Ten schools, Notre Dame. I got a full ride out to offer anyway, out to Washington State and where else? Down in Mississippi State, not Mississippi State, Mississippi. But I visited a lot of the Big Ten schools. I visited, Michigan State, and I visited Iowa, Indiana, and all. And I took an opportunity to go to Ball State University because the head football coach there at the time was named Ray Louthan, and he asked me to come for a weekend with my parents. So we drove from Hammond, Indiana, over to Muncie. And I said, I don't know, it's a small school. At the time, there was only like 10,000 students. And he said to me, he said, you come to Ball State University, young man. He said, you're going to be my starting quarterback your freshman year, and you're going to be my starting shortstop. I said, well, how can you pull that off? He said, well, I'm the baseball coach too. And so I signed a tender to go to Ball State. And 2 weeks later, the Reds picked me number 2. So that the rest is history. I went ahead and followed, because I wanted to play baseball ever since I was, ever since I could remember. And I grew up watching Ernie Banks with the Chicago Cubs on television, and I fell in love with Ernie, and he became my role model and my idol. And in 1960, it was Ernie was going to win the second MVP award in a row, and he was our banquet speaker at our Little League banquet when I was 12.
Wow.
And I was so excited. Anyway, I mean, he called me up on the stage. Said, I understand this young man, Darrel Chaney, he wants to be a Major League Baseball player, and he wants to be just like me. He said, come on up here, Darrel. So I went on up there with my ink pen and my program, and he signed the program to Darrel Chaney. I'll see you in the big leagues. And
Wow.
he signed it Ernie Banks. 9 years later, I got there, made the big leagues, and got to play against him. So
Wow.
great memory.
Did you show that to him?
No. You talk about the ring?
No, the where he signed the autographs that see you in the big leagues. Did you show that to him?
No, I didn't have it with me, but I've got some of us save baseball memorabilia that's really important to us personally, and I've got a collage downstairs. In one frame, I've got the program that Ernie signed to me. I've got his baseball bubblegum card signed from that year. I've got my rookie bubblegum card signed from that year. And then in 1976, when I got traded to the Braves, Ernie was honored by the Braves as the old timer of the year. He had just retired a couple of years earlier than that. And the Braves asked me to introduce him at our Little League banquet. So I took my time and give about a half an hour introduction. And I didn't realize that when I looked down at Ernie, he was 2 seats away from me when I was up on the podium. He was in tears, and because he understood how much his life meant to me and what an impact he had on my life. So then I handed him that award that night, and we took a picture, and I'm crying. He's smiling, but I got all that in one big collage in my basement. Cool. And when people come over to the house, and they say, "What's this all about?" I said, "Well, if you got 40 minutes or so, I'll tell you."
Yeah, but that's a pretty cool memory right there. You've done a lot of stuff. I know, like when you went to the minors and you went on up. Everybody I ask, that I interview, what was it like when you got the call that you were going to the major leagues?
Well, it was a real surprise. Although Jimmy Stewart was a utility infielder with the Reds my rookie year, and I always seemed to have really good springs, but I had to in order to make my clubs. Even when I got to the big leagues, I never went to spring training except my first year with Atlanta, when I knew I had the club made. So in '69, I'm just 21 years old, just turned 21, and while I was in spring training, and I was having a great spring, and I remember taking ground balls at shortstop, Jimmy Stewart and Chico Ruiz and Woody Woodward, and it was about 2 weeks to go in spring training, and Jimmy Stewart says, well, I wonder who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. And I wasn't saying anything because I'm just a rookie keeping my mouth shut. And they're talking back and forth, and Stewart says, "Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. That kid right there is going to come. He's going to come north with us." And he pointed at me, and I said, "You kidding?" He said, "No." And I had learned to play second base the year before for Sparky in Asheville, and so that helped me out. I could turn double play really good, and it didn't matter where I played. Defense seemed to be one of my strong suits. And sure enough, the last day of spring training that year, though, was between me and a guy named Clyde Mayshore. There were the only two guys left. One of us had to go. So it was the last day of spring training. And we're sitting there. Guys are packing up. They're getting ready to go north. My wife had already got in the car and was heading back home to Hammond to figure out, if I was going to be down there for 2 more weeks and all that. And sure enough, Dave Bristol, the manager, calls Clyde Mayshore into his office. And so I'm sitting there, and Clyde comes walking back out crying. I said, well, he didn't make the team if he's crying. And the next guy, Bernie Stowe, the equipment manager, says, Norton, Dave wants to see you. So I go in there, and Dave says, congratulations, kid. You made it to the big leagues. And it was, you dream about it when you're a kid, and but that's how it happened to me. And obviously, I was ecstatic, and so I got a hold of my wife when she got back home. Back then we didn't have cell phones or anything, so I waited till she got home. I called her up and I said, if you got nothing to do, Thursday, drive over to Cincinnati and watch me play. And she couldn't believe it. So her and her mom and dad hopped in the car, and my mom and dad, and they all got there late for opening day in Cincinnati in '69. I wasn't starting, but I was there. One of my favorite pictures that I've got is we're standing on the third base line for the national anthem. I'm standing right next to Pete Rose, and I got my hat over my heart and standing at attention like I was taught in the Army. And Pete was looking to the right, so it's a pretty neat picture, I thought anyway. But yeah, it was. You don't know what. I was so happy. I'm only 21. I mean, it's hard to get there, let alone at that young of an age. So, good Lord had a plan, and that's where He wanted me.
Yeah, I know. And you talk about Hammond, Indiana, and Ball State. I've got cousins that live in northern Indiana, Etna Green, Mentone, Leesburg, up in that area that actually went to Ball State and graduated from there. So when you mentioned Ball State, it made me think of them. Tom Posey commented, he said, "Go Cubs, go Braves." Thanks from Maysville, Kentucky, which he is a local Cub Scout here. So Cub Scout, I guess you could say, he hasn't grown up to be a Boy Scout yet. I don't know.
There you go.
But anyway, do you remember your first home run and who it was against?
Oh yeah, it was late in the season in '69, and I don't know why I got in the lineup, but I did. We were out in Candlestick Park, just an awful place to play, and you don't know which way the wind is going to blow or swirl. And it seems like every time I got a start, I was facing Cy Young. So Cy Young that day was a guy named Juan Marichal, and he made a mistake, and I hit it really good. It's still going. I mean, I thought they didn't have the stadium enclosed back then. I hit it over that right field fence and towards that bay they had out there. I mean, I creamed it. And matter of fact, make a long story short, it was I can't remember the year, but it was a good 25 years after I was done playing. I was very involved in the Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association. We had our charity fundraising dinner in New York, and I was chairman of the board of the marketing arm. And my attorney, who had done a lot of pro bono work for the Major League alumni, and our wives, we went up to New York for the dinner. And they honored about 8 Hall of Famers that night. Juan Marichal was one of them. And my attorney, Mark Spick, says, let's go up there and get Juan Marichal's autograph, see if he remembers you. So we go up there, and we're sitting in the last row. this dinner place, and walk up to Juan Marichal, and he doesn't know who I am, and I didn't want his autograph because I wanted my attorney Mark Spix to get it. So I handed him the ball. And I said, "Would you sign this?" And he signed it. And I says, "Juan, you don't remember me, do you?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, my name's Darrel Chaney." I said, "I played 11 years in Major League." I said, "I hit my first home run off of you in 1969," and he didn't say much, and didn't still recognize me. And I says, "And by the way, Juan, it's still going." But he was he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. So I still have that bat. Matter of fact, it wasn't even my bat. We had a backup catcher named Danny Breeden who had got called up at the end of the season, and Danny had a bat. Mine were all broke. Back when we broke bats, if you were a utility guy, you didn't get any more. You only got like a dozen for the whole year. So Danny let me borrow his bat, hit that home run with it, and I've got it hanging in my basement. And I signed the bat. Of course, Juan didn't sign it, but I got on there in big letters. First major league home run off of Giants ace Juan Marichal.
That's pretty nice there, I tell you. My uncle Bob Irie there, he says great stories. Everybody loves your stories. And you was talking about your tough pitchers, the ones you faced. Out of all the people you faced, who resonates in your mind as the toughest pitcher you ever faced?
It's hard to single out one of them. They were all tough. But early on in my career, I was a switch hitter, and actually I switch hit all my career except 1973 and 74. Sparky wanted me to just hit left-handed because Davey was going to be playing. So back then, Steve Carlton, he was one of those guys, another Hall of Fame pitcher. And I knew when I was on deck, I'd be standing there on deck and so I know I'm going to make an out. I just don't know how it's going to happen yet. He was nasty, and not only to me, but these Hall of Fame guys, they get to the Hall of Fame because they're really, really good. And he had a really hard slider, really, really hard slider, and he's all arms and legs, a big tall guy. He was the toughest on me. James Rodney Richard, when he first came up, I played against him in the minor leagues when I got sent back in 1971 for a little while, and he was nasty too. These big tall guys that just got a lot of arm and leg action, hard to pick up the ball, and before you know it, and when they let go of it, it's 60 feet 6 inches becomes 50 feet. It's just that they're that much closer to you. Those two guys stand out, but I had trouble. I had trouble with a bunch of them.
Did you ever face Nolan Ryan?
Yeah, I did. I faced him in a B game. I don't know if I remember I faced him in '69 or not. I can't remember, but I remember in a B game back then. We had it was 10 o'clock in the morning. We played at the old Reds complex in Tampa. And at 10 o'clock in the morning, the sun's just coming up over the center field brick wall, which is supposed to be a good backdrop for you. And the sun's shining in my eyes. And here's this guy on the mound that throws 110 miles an hour, and he grunts all the time. And we were both 19 when this happened. And he hit me in the rear end. And I had the stitches and that thing stuck in there for the longest time. I mean, I'm glad he hit me in the rear end. I ain't kidding you, because he hit me really, really hard. So,
oh wow!
Think about it. If you think about it, David, in my generation, I played against. I think I went to the Hall of Fame. My wife went to the Hall of Fame a few years ago, and first picture we took, we stood in front of Ernie Banks's plaque, because he was my inspiration to get there. And then my wife says, well, let's go take your picture in front of every plaque who you played against or with during your career, spring training and all. And we ended up taking 41 photographs. So I played with her against 41 Hall of Famers during my career. And there was a bunch of good pitchers. Tom Seaver. I mean, the Mets had Kuzman and Matlack in that 73 series after Davey broke his ankle. I had to face Kuzman and Matlack left-handed. Sparky still wouldn't let me pinch hit. and all those games are at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the shadows. You can't. I mean, they're tough enough to hit the way it is, and when you got the ball coming in the shadow, out of the shadow, into the sunlight, out of the sunlight, um, it was tough, but it was fun. It was fun.
Oh yeah, you've got a lot of great memories. My Uncle Bob says Richard was 6'8".
6'8", yeah, that's about right. That's
Yep,
about right.
and you played for both Dave Bristol and Sparky Anderson. What was the difference in their managerial styles?
For me, I thought they both managed the game really, really well. The fundamentals of the game really, really well. It's much different than you manage today. I mean, if the bunt's in order, you're going to bunt. If you're losing by 1 run, you're going to take 2 strikes, or at least you had guys like me do that. Both of them did. I thought Sparky had a different approach to how he helped everybody get along. One of the toughest things a manager in the big leagues has to do is in spring training get 25 guys or 30 guys, whoever's in the camp from today, all different parts of the world, and say, okay, boy, here's our goal. Our goal is to get in the World Series, and we got to get along for the next 7 months. And so we're in this thing together. And Sparky knew when he got there, and Dave Bristol was one of the guys that was very instrumental, in my opinion, building the Big Red Machine. I'm so glad he got inducted in the Reds Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. I went to the induction. Is that where I saw you, right, David?
I saw you at Reds Fest last year.
Okay, Reds Fest. Okay, but so I went to Dave's Hall of Fame induction, and I remember when Sparky got the team together. Sparky realized that he had the great 8. I mean, he really did, and especially Rose, Bench, Perez, and Morgan, the franchise 4 they called them back then. He did treat those guys with a little more care than he treated guys like me. We used to.
I was going to ask you a little bit about that because I've had other ones on here, of course, Doug Flynn and stuff, and we've talked about that before. And that's one of the things I was going to ask you: how was you treated different?
Yeah, well, Doug probably told you the same story. We nicknamed ourselves the Turds.
He did,
because the way Sparky always did on us, that kind of thing. It was all in jest, but that's the way it was. Now that wasn't a bad thing to do because if Sparky Anderson had Pete Rose doing what he wanted him to do, wearing his uniform a certain way, getting his hair cut, no facial hair, no sideburns. All he had to do was look at, me and said, Darrell, see Pete over there? He just got his hair cut. Look at his sideburns. He was just saying to me, Darrell, you need to go get a haircut, that kind of thing. And that had nothing to do with baseball, but that's the way it was. So they treated they had a different system, I guess you would say, of how they managed the guys off the field. But on the field, I thought they were pretty similar. As a matter of fact, if I don't know why Dave Bristol got fired. I mean, in '69 we finished just 3 games. Excuse me a minute.
Oh, you're all right.
We finished just 3 games behind Atlanta, and we went in Atlanta the final series of the season. We had a chance to pull even with them, and I wouldn't have fired Dave Bristol over that, and maybe they didn't, but they did, and Sparky got the job. So I can remember when Sparky got there in '70. '68, I'm playing for Sparky in Asheville, right? In '69, I'm in the big league. Sparky's third base coach for the Padres. And so being an old Cardinal employee, Sparky, so Housem wanted his guy in there. I get that. So I said to Sparky when he got there, I said, I got you here, Sparky. You got to
play. There you go. I was talking to Pat Darcy on here. I interviewed him, a few months ago, and Pat said that before, when he got traded to the Reds, he came to Cincinnati and he got his hair cut because he knew there was, rules about your length of your hair and everything. And he said he got his hair cut and he went up to Sparky as soon as he saw him and said, how you like my haircut? And Sparky said it needs to be shorter.
Yeah. Well, I can remember we had an assistant general manager named Dick Wagner back there, and he was in charge of how your helmets looked. And they had those machines that made a tape with your name on the back of your helmet, and you couldn't do anything else to that helmet. And they wiped it off with alcohol every night. There was no pine tar stuck on it, nothing. And if that name tag came off of there, Dick Wagner himself sometimes would go put a new one on there. And if your socks were stretched too high, I used to stretch Joe Morgan's socks because I could stretch mine a little bit without ripping them, and so more white would show. And Joe would love me to wear a pair of socks for a week or two and then give them to him, so he would have more white showing on his socks. And I can tell you a couple of times Wagner didn't like as much white was showing. So the next day in our locker, he told Bernie Stella to take their socks away and put these ankle chokers back in there. So yeah, there was rules. There was rules, man.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, us people that never played, of course, for the Big Red Machine or any part of that, this is all stuff that a lot of this we've never knew over the years. But what was it like playing for the Big Red Machine? And I'm sure there's probably a few funny stories you could tell, clubhouse stories that are G-rated. But what was it like playing for the Big Red Machines and make Big Red Machine, and what's some of the stories you remember back then?
Well, it was the greatest 7 years of my life. Not only my baseball career. I played longer than that, but I was with the Reds organization for 10 years. And 7 of them in the big leagues. And when you look back on it, when you're going through it, you don't say to yourself, "We got one of the greatest teams in the history of baseball here," because guys are just early in their careers. You don't know Johnny Bench is going to get in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose is going to get 4,256 hits. I got to see a lot of them. But as I look back on it, you say proudly, I was part of one of the greatest teams. Arguably, in 75, 76, arguably the greatest team. Goodness sakes, All-Stars, Hall of Famers, Gold Glovers, batting champions, Silver Slugger Award winners, multiple times. It was just something. I wanted to be. I wanted to be a everyday player. I wanted to have Concepcion's job. Matter of fact, I thought I had it after the 72 season. We platooned in 72, and I out-hit him.
Yeah.
We won the pennant and lost to the A's in the World Series. And the next year, I had a better spring, I thought. But Sparky named him the starting shortstop because he saw something in him that a lot of people didn't. And the rest is history. And it was a tragedy that he had to break his ankle that year. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Maybe Concepcion should be in the Hall of Fame. Come on. And
so
that's having an opportunity to say that I played on one of the greatest teams in the history of the game for a number of years. It wasn't like I was there just for a short period of time. And I don't think they even had to make that trade with Mike Lum for me. They were still going to win it in 76 if I was there too. But so to have an opportunity, here's one of the things I remember about how great that team was too. You talk about genes earlier. I can remember in the clubhouse, we'd let our kids come in there sometimes during rain delays or, batting practice and things like that. Pedro Barbone's kid was in there playing wiffle ball. My son, who played pro ball, was playing wiffle ball. Ed Sprague had kids play wiffle ball. Andy Costco, of course, Pete Jr., Hal McRae, Ken Griffey Jr. And there are some good guys. There's some pretty good ball players. Those guys could run around that clubhouse with a wiffle ball and bat and just shine, man. They were really good. I'm missing a couple guys too, I know, but we had a lot of guys who had kids that ended up playing pro ball. And those are some fun times. As you look back on that now, I go to these old timer events whenever I get invited, and I say, you remember when our kids played together in the clubhouse and they ended up playing in pro ball? Of course, a lot of people don't remember my son played pro ball because he didn't play for a very long period of time. He didn't get past A ball. But we had a group of guys that loved their kids and let their kids play in the clubhouse, and we would have. Here's one of the reasons why I thought we were so good. Not just talent, but when a young African American ball player came in the clubhouse or was a rookie, Joe Morgan would take him under his wing. Latin American ball player Tony Perez did. I remember Tony Perez consoling Davey Concepcion early in his career. I think he may have saved him early in his career because Davey struggled his first 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And then Pete would take the white guys under his arm, and Pete Rose had us over for dinner one night, the whole team, and he took us into his closet, me, Bill Plummer, and Hal McRae, and he had all these suits hanging in there that hadn't even been tailored yet. And he said, Norton, you don't have enough suits. Pick out 4 of them. I picked out 4 suits. Hal, you need some more suits. Pick out 4 of them. He just gave us these suits. I don't know where he got them, but we wore those babies. I took them to the tailor and got them. I gave one to my dad even. And so that's a pretty good G-rated story. I can tell you there. We had some clubhouse meetings. Both managers would have a clubhouse meeting every now and then, and there were instances where he would either Bristol or Sparky would single out an individual and come right to their locker and right to the stool and look them right in the face, and that was as far as it went, though. Yeah. So you ended up at the end of the day with respect for those guys, and in the Big Red Machine years, which again I think started in '69. Dave Bristol had a pretty good coaching staff, and then Sparky comes along and brings in Larry Shepard and George Sugar, Alex Gramis, Ted Klazuski, and Ted Klazuski would work as much with me hitting off the tee as he did with Joe Morgan or Pete Rose. I mean, he was that kind of guy, and so we had a special group of young men and coaches, and it was a team that knew how to win. It was a team that every guy at every position knew their responsibilities, and that goes all the way to us guys that were sitting on the bench. We had to be ready when the game came to us. We understood that. We were ready when the game came to us. Matter of fact, you may have heard there's a book out about my life with the Reds called "Welcome to the Big Leagues," and we detail a lot of that. We detail all that history in there as to how the whole team understood what their position was on the team and how to be ready to play. And Johnny Bench made a comment a few years ago that I really admired him saying it. He was in the Hall of Fame at one of the interviews at the hotel there, and he said it takes 25 guys, 4 coaches and a manager to win a world championship, and it makes you feel good because you weren't one of the great 8, but you were one of the one of the greatest teams ever. And so to have one of the great 8 say that about the club, and knowing that the point was being made that there were 17 other guys besides the great 8 that helped us get to those World Championships and World Series those years, makes you feel good. So that's what's special about it. I can sit here and talk to guys like you and have people out there listen, but the older I get, the more grateful I am that I had a chance to do what I did. And I thank the Lord every day for that opportunity.
And there's not a whole lot of people that can say they played for, the Big Red Machine, especially those years like you did. So, I mean, you're one of the few that can really say that. Mike Long said he agreed Concepcion should be in the Hall. Now, my Uncle Bob Irie there, he asked this question, which I think Doug might have spoke a little bit about it, or somebody did, one of the things we had going on. But he said, were you on the team when Concepcion got in the dryer to get out of a slump and someone turned it on?
No, that was the year after I left. I think it was in '76. He got off to a bad start. And who was it? I think it was Pat Zachary turned on the dryer. I can't remember who it was, but I know the story, and I can see. I would have loved to have been the guy to turn the dryer on him. I mean, I can see Davey's face looking through that window. That had to be. I mean, it was dangerous, of course, but golly, that had to be funny. That'd be funny.
Yeah, I think they said he had a fear of dryers after that, wouldn't even go around him. So, I talked to Doug Flynn which of course you were teammates, and he gave me a couple of questions to ask you, and one of them is something you've been talking about, but your nickname Norton. He wanted to know. He told me to ask you where you got your nickname.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Doug. Doug and I are really good. We're really good buddies. We stay close. You know, you don't keep friends all the way through life after your career's over. But that's not the case with me and Doug. I'm proud to call him my Christian brother. Yeah, in 1968, I'm playing in Nashville, North Carolina. We had a pitcher from Cincinnati named Tom Frondorf. He got as high as AAA ball. And matter of fact, when I got to the big leagues, I sublet his apartment in Cincinnati while he played ball in AAA. And so back in those days in Nashville, we had about a 1955 bus, no air conditioning, and the windows only came down about that far from the top. And we called it the Iron Lung. And so you couldn't, and you didn't because you didn't have any money to dress any, but it was blue jeans and a T-shirt and a bus. Going from town to town. And I used to, and I still have them. I have these hats. If you ever watched The Honeymooners, the guy that worked in the sewer there, Ed Norton, Art Carney's his name, wore these hats. And I had a couple hats just like it. And I wore them on the buses. And Tom Frondorf says to me one day, "You look just like Ed Norton of The Honeymooners. We're going to call you Norton from now on." And to this day, everybody I know that I played against, was associated with in baseball, call me Norton. Some call me Nort for short. But matter of fact, when I got traded to the Braves in '76, one of Ted Turner's wild ideas was to put everybody's nickname on the back of their jersey. And so they put Nort on the back of my jersey. And we couldn't wear them. We only wore them one day, I think. Then Chub Feeney, the president of the league, said you couldn't do it because we had Andy Messersmith on our team and he didn't have a nickname. So Ted put his number was 17. So Ted put Channel as his nickname. Well, that was a TV station that he had, Channel 17. So that was free advertising, and Chub Feeney didn't like it. So we had to take the jerseys off, and I've got it hanging in a frame in my house. North, number 15. So that's it. Tom Frondorf, and I don't even know if Tom's still with us or not. I know his wife Maureen passed away at an early age, and he married a second wife who's named Maureen too. But Tom and I were really, really good buddies. We in Asheville, North Carolina, we lived across the street from each other in this little rental community. We had little houses, $125 a month, 2 bedrooms, no air conditioning, but you didn't need it in the mountains. And we both had little grills on our back porches, and we grilled out every night together, his kids and our son. And but that's where I got my nickname.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. And I know Doug was talking about something else too, which I didn't ask you this earlier, but he wanted me to ask you about the best double play he was ever a part of.
Yeah, we always, Doug, he should have had me on first because I'd ask you to have Doug tell that story. Did Doug tell it by any chance?
No, he just told me to ask you.
I'll be darned. You want me to tell it to you?
Yeah, if you want to.
We're playing in Atlanta in 75, and Doug and I are sitting in the bench, and we got a blowout game. We're blowing the Braves out. I mean, we won 108 games, so we blew a lot of people out, right? So Sparky decides to let some of the guys get off the bench and get in there, and so he puts me in for Davey at short. He puts Doug in at second base, and this is I believe it's probably the bottom of the 9th inning. It's the bottom of the 8th or 9th. They get a guy on first base and 1 out. And all our guys that had gotten taken out of the game, they're already out of the dugout. They're up in the clubhouse taking a shower, eating a sandwich, right? And so Doug and I are out there, and Ralph Garr's up. Now, if you all don't remember the guy named Ralph Garr, he was what was his nickname? Goodness sake, he could fly. He was really fast. And so Ralph is up, and there's a guy on first base, and Ralph hits a chopper over the mound. I charge it flip it under my glove and under my left arm to Doug, and just like a U-pipe, it went in and out of Doug's glove so fast, and we doubled Ralph Garr off. I made a great play, and Doug made a great turn. We doubled Ralph Garr up in that game, and Doug and I we're high-fiving each other coming off the field. We're jumping up and down. It was one of the greatest and fastest double plays you'd ever see. I mean, Ralph Garr, the Road Runner, that was his nickname, the Road Runner.
Yeah, that's what my Uncle Bob said, the Road Runner.
Yeah. And so Doug and I are celebrating the no-win. We come in the dugout, and there's nobody there. They're all eating sandwiches and everything. So when the game's over, we go in and we just tell everybody, you guys really missed it. I mean, Davey and Joe couldn't have done it. It was us. It was a dandy double play. It really was. Doug and I, we had some games where Doug would play short and I'd play second. We do turn double plays that way too. That was Doug's first year, and we had I guess I taught him a few things about how to ride the pines, but Doug Flick could play the game, man. There's no doubt about it. And then he won a Gold Glove with the Mets, and when he got a chance to play every day, he did pretty good too.
Yes, he did. And you was talking about the back of your uniforms and the nicknames. It made me think about Johnny LeMaster when I had him on here a month or so ago. He got the one of the trainers or something in the locker room to put "boo" on the back of his shirt, and he was telling us the story that he went up the back because he's always getting booed, and he said the manager said, "Why does Johnny have Bob on the back of his shirt?" He couldn't say it, but he said he got to wear it for an inning, and the manager made him take it off, and I guess they fired the guy in the locker room, sports guy that took care of it and put it on there. So it reminded me of that story when you was talking about the nicknames there.
Yeah.
You also, of course, we talked about you and David Concepcion competed a lot over the years for that position, platooned and everything. What do you think contributed to Davey getting better? I mean, like he just took off there and all of a sudden, done a lot better over the years later on. What do you attribute to what he, to make him that much better, to improve?
I'll give you a couple of my reasons. Number one, Tony Perez. When Davey came up, I think he hit 203 and 205 his first 2 years, something like that. And being a younger ball player like we were all when we were younger, we weren't as mature as we are today. We weren't as mature as we would be the next year. And I think Tony settled Davey down. They roomed together, and Tony just comforted Davey when he needed comforting. That's number one. Number two, we had a manager that just believed that Davey Concepcion was going to be the player that he ended up becoming. Sparky Anderson saw things in Davey Concepcion that, of course, I didn't see because I didn't want to see him. I wanted that job. And I'm sure Davey felt the same way, but Sparky saw something in him and he stuck with him. So when you have a man you're playing for that shows you that kind of confidence and says, you're going to be my everyday shortstop. I don't care if you're hitting 203 or 205, we'll throw you in a dryer and get you going, that kind of thing. And then Tony Perez. And then then I'll give a third point. Plus, he had all the talent. When Davey finally realized he had the talent that he could flat out play the game and hit, and he got all that confidence from his manager saying you're playing, and from his roommates saying you can do it. That attributed to it. And when you talk about him going into the Hall of Fame now, people ask me all the time. It could have been if Davey would have had a bad spring or broke his ankle in spring training in '73, after I came off of a decent year platooning with him, maybe it would have been me. And a lot of people say, "Well, are you envious?" And as I look back on it, no, I got to play. I wanted to play that everyday role. But if you look at Davey, you put Davey Concepcion, his statistics, up against any other shortstop that's in the Hall of Fame, any of them. I don't know how you can be in there. I wonder sometimes, is he not in there because he had so many of his teammates get in there first. You know, where's the old timers committee? When they going to realize that? He's goodness sakes, he's as good as anybody. So anyway, that's my plug for Davey for the Hall of Fame. But I've been saying that for a long, long time. So
hey, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. My Uncle Bob was asking. He said, since Bernie Carbo became a hairdresser, did he cut hair in the locker room?
I never saw him cut hair, but Bernie was and Bernie had a book out, and everybody knows about Bernie's life and the drugs he battled and so forth. And now he's a very strong Christian. He's got a great testimony, and he's impacting a lot of lives out there. Bernie and I came through the minor leagues together. We got to the big leagues. Well, anyway, I got to the big leagues. I may have gotten to the big leagues a year before Bernie, but that guy could hit because he didn't know any other way. I mean, he didn't know anything bother him. I remember one time Sparky Anderson called a meeting in Asheville, North Carolina. Bernie is right behind me in the home run race for the team. I out-homered him that year, and we were always ragging on Bernie and all the dumb things he might say or do. And Sparky called a meeting. He says, from now on, Bernie Carbo will no longer be called the village idiot. Now, nobody ever called him the village idiot, but that's what Sparky said. That's that was Sparky's term for Bernie. But the guy could play. I mean, he could play. He had a little trouble fielding the ball when he was playing third base, but he did all right in the outfield. He had a good strong arm, and the guy could flat out hit. And wasn't it ironic that in '75 he comes up there and hits that home run in the sixth game to tie it up. Raleigh Eastwick was one pitch away from being the MVP in that World Series. Think about it. Yeah. And he hits that game tying home run. And Bernie says to this day he didn't know what he was doing up there because he was apparently on drugs.
Yeah, I know. And you talk about we talk about you getting traded to the Atlanta Braves. Now, when you went to Atlanta, was Hank Aaron there when you went to Atlanta?
No, he had already been traded back to Milwaukee.
Okay.
I think it was a trade. It might have been a free agent thing. I don't know, but he wasn't there. No. Excuse me. When I played against Hank, of course. When I got to the Braves. I got to the Braves in '76. Hank was already back, and he was in the front office. But he had gone. He had gone the year before, the 2 years before, back to Milwaukee.
Okay, got you. And the first year you went to Atlanta, you done pretty good there. You hit the ball pretty good. I mean, what do you attribute that to when you went to Atlanta in '76? And I forget, you hit 240, 250, whatever it was there, but you done pretty good that year.
I hit 252, David. Round it off to the near. But hey, I'll go back. It's the same thing with Davey. Dave Bristol became the manager of the Braves that year. He was instrumental in me getting traded down here to Atlanta. I was going to be his everyday shortstop. He told me so. He told me in Montreal when he was coaching third base a year before that, a couple of years before that, he said, be patient. He said, how you doing? I said, I'm all right. I was in there on defense playing third base. He says, hang in there. One of these days we'll be together again. So he trades for me. So number one, he's telling me I got confidence in you. You're my everyday shortstop, right? And so I got a chance to play every day. I switch hit, and I hit better from the left side than the right side. But I played Morgan. I faced more right-handed pitchers. But I had 10 triples that year. I had 20 doubles. Drove in 50 runs, sitting in the 8th spot most of the year on a team that lost 102 games. I mean, in '75 we won 108. I go to Atlanta, we lose 102. That's like falling off the roof of your house, going from the best to the worst. It was tough, going from a great club like that. And when we got to Atlanta, they had made a bunch of trades. We thought we had a pretty good ball club. We just didn't win. And but anyway, I gave it all I had that year. We personally had a pretty good year. It was good enough to where Ted Turner signed me to a 3-year contract, which surprised me. But agents were just coming into play back then. I had an old friend of mine that I went to high school with that was an attorney in Atlanta, and he said, let me handle this for you. I won't charge you anything. And I said, well, you can do better than I can. I'm not making any money. But anyway, I got a 3-year contract after that year. So it must have been worth something that year I had. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dave Bristol, of course, you kind of answered my next question. I know, you went down there and played for Dave Bristol, and he was a fiery manager. A lot of people knew he was a fiery manager. And I was going to ask you, did you like playing for him? Because he must have liked you because he brought you to Atlanta and traded for you, to get you down to Atlanta. But was he a pretty good manager to play for?
I love Dave Bristol. He's still alive.
Yeah.
He's 86 years old. He comes to my golf tournament down here every year. I've had my golf tournament up here in the mountains for 19 years. He's been to every one of them. He can still hit a golf ball. He can play golf, man. He's a true competitor. He'd fight for you. It was. I love playing for the guy. Although a lot of people think I got him fired twice, once in Cincinnati and then once in Atlanta. He got fired in Atlanta after 2 years, too. But I don't think the Braves treated him very well either. But when you got a new owner and you don't win, and they want to move things along, and I only wish I could have played better for Dave Bristol than I did, especially here in Atlanta, because he managed 5 different teams or so, 4 different teams in the big leagues. You don't get those jobs because you don't know what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
And I love the guy. I love the guy to death, man. I like he's my dad. I really do. And he doesn't live far from me. I see him a lot, talk to him all the time. Lately, we've been talking to each other about, did you hear that this guy passed away or that guy passed away, and that kind of thing, because we're at that age. But Dave Bristol. Dave Bristol. He's just a good baseball man. Just a good baseball man.
Do you miss being a part of baseball?
I do. But as I get older, things like this kind of keep me involved in the game. I was with the alumni organization for a good 30 years and stayed in contact with a lot of guys. And my golf tournaments helped me see guys again. I wanted to stay in the game the rest of my life. When I got done playing with the Braves, or when the Braves released me, I couldn't get a job anywhere else, and I got 2 conditional offers to go to spring training the next year in 1980, one with the Mets and one with the Pittsburgh Pirates. But they were conditional deals where if I made the club, I'd make the minimum, and if I didn't make the club, I'd get released. And I said, I've got 11 years in the big leagues. I don't need a minimum salary again. So I went to work. I got the real estate business, and then the next year, Ted Turner calls me up and says, we're going to increase our guys on the TV and radio to 4 guys, and we'd like to have you join us. And I thought, well, this is my ticket now to stay in the game the rest of my life, and I can see myself as a Bob Uecker. Yeah. Anyway, after 2 years, I walked in the office when they called me in. I thought they were going to renegotiate my contract because they gave me a 2-year broadcasting contract. And there's a gentleman with the Braves at the time named Al Thornwell, who had made a fortune in the garbage collection business in Augusta, Georgia, but he was the baseball. Ted Turner didn't have baseball guys in his front office back then, but he had Al as his vice president of baseball operations. So I sit down with Al, and he says, we're going to make a change in our broadcasting team. And with all the naivety in the world, I said, we are. What are we going to do? He said, well, we're going to let you go.
Oh, man.
And I said, well, wait a minute, why? He said, this is quote unquote, I was just told to tell you, we think you can make a better living working for someone else. I said, run that by me again. And he repeated it. So I knew he was had talking points there.
Yeah.
And I asked him, why, and he couldn't give me a reason. I said, did I get bad mail? Did I say a bad word on the air? None of that stuff. And I didn't get any bad mail either. I just wasn't the guy that they envisioned in that color spot, although I did post-game live interviews for 2 years and all that stuff. And I had gone to broadcasting school when I was in Cincinnati. Al Michaels thought that be a good broadcaster because he liked my voice. So he got me into Columbia School of Broadcasting. So I had a third-class operator's license. Ted Turner, this TV mogul, buys the Braves. I'm his shortstop, and I'm broadcasting for him. I get fired after 2 years. I got fired on Halloween night, and I couldn't get another job on TV and radio. I asked the Braves for a position in the minor leagues. I said, "Can I go back on the field and coach?" Or, I was only 33 years old. I was 31 when I got done playing, 33 when I got done broadcasting. And Al Thornwell said to me, "We have no position in this organization for you." And he said again, "I was told to tell you, when we let you go, we're letting you go all the way. So you have to go seek employment somewhere else." So I went back in the real estate business and just went to work. Really, really missed it for 2 years, though, David. I really, really did. But God's got a plan for me, and I'm doing okay.
You are doing okay, and I really think baseball missed a big opportunity by not having you be a part of it, because not just your history, but also what you know about the game, and of course, being a big part of the Reds organization. It'd be nice to see you come back up here, being a Christian, a good person. I think they should have never let you get out of the game of baseball, but that's just something we don't have control over.
There's a lot of guys like me out there that would have stayed in the game for a pittance of what they ended up making when they didn't stay in the game. I got in the real estate business and had a pretty successful career in it. And a couple, 3 years after I was in the real estate business, I got a call from my own roommate in Atlanta, Rod Gilbreth, who's still scouting for the Braves. And he said, "I think I can get you a job managing our Idaho Falls team. Would you like to take it?" And I said, "What's it pay?" He said, $15,000. And I said, "Why don't you come and work for me, Rod? Because I can't now. I can't. After a few years, you can't afford to go back into the game." And so there's a lot of guys like me that would have loved to stay in the game for whatever they would have paid us for the rest of our careers. But since they didn't, what do? We got to go to work. And after a few years, you build up a reputation, and if you're successful, you can't afford to go back in the game. So that's what happened there. I mean, I would have, I wanted to stay in the game of baseball. And when I got that broadcasting job, I thought, this is my ticket. I'll be in this thing till the day I die. I'll be Vince Scully, Bob Uecker, and all those guys. But it didn't work out.
Wow, and that's kind of sad, because I think you do have the voice for it, and of course you got the knowledge for it too. I was going to ask you about kind of like what you're doing now. So are you still in the real estate?
No, I'm basically retired, except for my public speaking. I started during my real estate career. I ended up starting my own company, and then one of my partners in the real estate business, we started a construction firm. And I'm still doing some consulting work for that construction firm, although with COVID, I'm on a furlough deal now. Yeah. But I sold my interest and we closed our real estate business in 2009 because it got so bad, market got so bad. And then the construction company survived, and I sold my interest in that about 8 years ago, and just said, I'll do some consulting work for you, but I want to get out and speak, because our book had come out. So. But this year, with the COVID and everything hitting, I haven't done much of that either. So I guess you could say I'm basically retired. Yeah.
When you played for Atlanta down there, you played when Dale Murphy was, when he played also. Did he start out as a catcher and then they moved him to another position?
Yeah. Yeah. They realized, and so did Dale, the farther they got him away from home plate, the better he was. He became one of the greatest outfielders. He should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why he's not in the Hall of Fame. Back-to-back MVPs. Are you kidding me? And for a 10-year stretch there wasn't nobody better than him. But I can tell you, he came up, and I can't remember. I came up at the end of the '76 season. We were out in San Diego, and Buzz Capper's pitching, and Murph is catching. He had a great arm, but he didn't know where it was going.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And Buzz throws the pitch, guy on first. He's stealing second base. Buzz turns around and puts his hands on his knees to see the throw go into second base, and Murphy hits him right in the back of the head. And just cold cocked him. Knocked Buzz, went out. He's spread eagle on the mound, right on top of the rubber later. He's out like a light. They've been to smelling salts. Dave Pursley, the trainer, they get him awake and everything. And he comes to, and he looks at Murphy and he says, "Hey, Murph, What'd you do that for? And Murphy's the nicest guy in the world. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Buzz. Didn't mean to do that. But they put him at first base for a little bit. He wasn't a bad first baseman. But out there in center field, man, he with those long legs and everything, he covered so much ground, and he could really go get them.
Yeah, I know that.
Boy, when he hit a ball out of the ballpark, it was you knew it was gone.
Yeah, I remember watching Dale Murphy play a lot. Sometimes when you're playing ball, you have that. I guess you could call it a mental block where you get in your mind you can't throw it to a certain base or whatever, and it affects you. And I don't know what that is, but I think it was a Sachs or somebody had the same thing. And then there was a pitcher now that pitches for Chicago. They won't let him throw to first base.
Yeah, that left-hander.
Yeah,
makes a lot of money too.
Yeah.
I remember his name, but I remember one spring training the next year. Dale's after I think 77. We're in spring training, and Dale's trying to work it out. I went down there in one of the minor league fields and took throws. He was catching and throwing, and you're right, at that mental block. He just had a real hard time throwing the ball to second base.
Exactly. We've got a couple more things here. Bob Irie Michael says you put Davies hitting and fielding together, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. Compare his stats with other Hall of Famers, and he's better. And then he said, was Bernie drafted first round and benched second round in the same year?
That's right. I think it was now in 65. 65, Bernie was drafted 1, Bench was drafted 2. I'm trying to remember who was drafted 3 that year. In 66, Gary Nolan went 1, I went 2, and Mike Oates went 3. 67, it was Wayne Simpson was up in there in 1 or 2. Then Gullett. I mean, the draft, the Reds were pretty good, pretty successful. And back in those days, the scouts had to cover thousands miles by car, no videotapes, things like that. And I thought the Reds did a pretty good job of, building what they built, the Big Red Machine. Yeah.
Yeah. Mike Long said, thank you for being on, Darrell. Great Christian stories, message, and great stories. He wanted to know if you played. I can't hardly say it. If you played for Biff Picaribo or Picaribo, what a baseball name.
Biff Pocoroba.
There you go.
Switch hitting catcher. Yeah. I played with him my years in Atlanta. He's a good guy, really good guy. He just passed away. I can remember walking onto the field in 76, my first day of spring training, shagging balls out in right field. Poco standing out there, and he says, Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior? He said, he's looking for you. And that's how I met Biff. I said, I'm good there, Biff. So I explained your testimony to a guy like that and all that. He's a pretty good catcher. And when he got done playing, he was the catcher for the Braves when they went. I was broadcasting this year when we went 13-0 to start the season in 1981. And Biff got done playing, and he opened up a sausage business. He made sausage, brats and Mets and Polish sausage and stuff like that. And he ended up putting a lot of weight on because he was eating his own sausages there for a while. But he did not. Biff did not participate in any post-career events. I never saw him at any of the Braves alumni, and the Braves have a great alumni association. He never came to any of those. So, some guys, when they leave the game, they want to leave it behind. And I was surprised with Biff in that regard, because it's fun just to get back there and just reminisce, the good or the bad. You get to play Major League Baseball, man. How many kids want to do that?
Exactly. Bob asked me also, he said, were you on the team when Bench caught a pitch barehanded to show his pitcher that his fastball wasn't the right pitch to throw?
It was Jerry Rigo, 1969. I'll never forget it. Rigo's shaking him off, and he ends up throwing this basketball shot. He catches it barehanded. I mean, that was a good one. Well, yeah. Jerry Rigo's a great guy too, man. There's some great character.
Yeah. Do you ever get to see any of your players, former players like Don Gullett or any of the guys from the Big Reds machine? Do you ever get a chance to see any of them anymore?
Yeah, well, like I said, Doug and I are close. Doug's come to my golf tournament this year. Jack Billingham, who I room with in '75, he's not come to my golf tournament this year because of COVID, but we stay in touch with him quite a bit. I've gone up to Canada fishing with those guys, and we've stayed in touch. And the golf tournament I have, Ed Bailey used to come when he was alive. Ed Bailey's brother came. Dave Bristol still comes. So you can't stay in touch with everybody. Obviously, everybody's got their own thing to do, and I don't get invited back to a whole lot of things in Cincinnati. There's a budget issue for guys like me. If I lived in Lexington or within driving distance, I'd sure get more invites. But like I told the Reds, just invite me. Maybe I'll pay my own airfare. But because I really enjoy reminiscing, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think everybody that goes to an alumni event or a reunion of some kind really, really enjoys the time being there. And so do the spouses, as a matter of fact, because a lot of the wives hung around together a lot. Cindy, my wife, still has a great relationship with Olga Flynn and Jolene Billingham, and they can tell as many stories as we can.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Doug Flynn was telling me the story about how he got hooked up with his wife. That Pete Rose hooked him up, and I mean that's a great story too. But they asked Mike Long, and I'll just a few more things here, and I'll let you go. He wanted to know if you could share a Pedro Bourbon story.
Well, one, Pedro, we were in St. Louis. I don't know what year it was. Pedro comes out pregame. Might have been extra batting practice. He might have been pitching extra batting practice or something. And he comes out and he stands on the mound at Old Busch Stadium, and he said, "I bet you guys can't do this." And he turned around, faced home plate, and he threw a ball out of the stadium over the roof behind home plate without even warming up. Now, he had a rubber arm, that's for sure, but that's hard to do.
Yeah, that is hard to do.
So that's my good story I can tell about Pete. We had a little bit in common with our sons. His boy played pro ball. Matter of fact, he got to the big leagues with the Braves, and my son played against him in the minor leagues. Pedro Jr.
Yeah.
Pedro died too soon. There's a lot of guys gone that died at a pretty young age.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Now, you do motivational speaking now, and you also there's an autobiography out about you. If people's interested in your autobiography, and I know everything's going on now, and you're not doing much motivational speaking, what's a good way? Do you have like an email address or a website or something they can go to for some of this stuff?
Yeah, there's a couple. The name of the book is Welcome to the Big Leagues, Every Man's Journey to Significance, written by a gentleman named Dan Hettinger, who is a Presbyterian pastor who I met in Atlanta. The book is about his life of wanting to be Billy Graham and my life wanting to be like Ernie Banks. And we both have the top and the bottom of a chapter, which we call top of the first inning, bottom of the first inning, and so on. And we tell our stories and reflect on those stories with questions to the reader about how they can compare instances in their lives. The main theme of the book is to help people understand. It's a book of encouragement to help people understand, especially young men, that their lives matter, not because of what anybody else says or does about it. Their lives matter because God says it does. So www.welcometothebigleagues.org is the website for the book. However, if someone wants to get in touch with me for a speaking engagement, or so they can go to my personal website, and there's a link right there on the front page to the book, and it's www.darrelchaney.com, and it's spelled just like my name is on the screen there, 2 R's and 1 L. Otherwise, you won't get me. But that's how you can find out about it. And there's all kinds of topics to which I've spoken to. I appreciate you letting me plug that. My goal the rest of my life, as long as good Lord's got me here, is I just, when I wake up in the morning, I feel like that God woke me up because He's got something for me to do. And I think one of those things is for me to talk about this book and what the experiences, especially with the Reds and the Braves that I had, can relate to other men out there in the world that may need some encouragement. And so that's what I want to do from here on out until I can't, do anything anymore. But I appreciate you let me plug it there, David.
Hey, I'm just humbled that you agreed to come on and be a part of this. And, I sure appreciate it. And of course, everybody loves your stories. My Uncle Bob, before I let you go, he says, Petro, you've got to chew your hat off to that guy. He said he bit a piece of Bill. I guess he bit a piece of Bill off of Bud Harrelson's hat when Bud and Pete Rose got into a tussle in the playoffs. And then Petro ended up with Bud's hat, and he bit a chunk out of it before he gave it back or something. Do you remember that?
Pedro liked to eat hats. Yeah, I do. I was playing that series. That was 73 series. Just think if we'd have won that, I'd have been in 4 World Series. Pedro, Buddy took offense to Pete's hard play. Boy, today you can't do that today. You can't go out of the base. Oh, geez, the game's changed so much. But yeah, we got a big brouhaha there. Buddy really picked on the wrong guy. And but Pedro did. He grabbed that hat, but he did a better job than that. Pedro, I think it was 72. We're playing the Pirates, and we're in Pittsburgh in a doubleheader, and they knocked Davey down a couple of times. And the second time, we all emptied the dugouts, and Ed Kirkpatrick, their catcher, Sparky Anderson accidentally stepped on Ed's foot. Ed shoved Sparky, and all hell broke loose, and we had Pedro. I can't remember who had Darrell Patterson, one of their pitchers. I think Merv Retman had Darrell's hands down by his side. And he had him in a bear hug, so Darrell couldn't move his arms. And Pedro come up and bit Darrell in the side, and then took his hat and ate it. And I think Darrell Patterson had to get a tetanus shot. I don't know, but. Pedro liked the hats. He liked to eat hats. I tell you what, you didn't want to mess with a guy like him. I mean, that guy was strong. Yeah, and Pedro was a real strong. He was real lean, but he had these real strong, lean muscles, and just as wiry, but as strong as you could be for that type of a build.
Yeah, you was talking about Davey Concepcion, giving him plug to get in the Hall of Fame, which I'm good friends with Al Oliver. And of course, I'm one that thinks Al Oliver should be in there too. With his stats and 7-time All-Star, lifetime .303 batting average, 18 years in the major leagues. I mean, that's another person that just blows my mind why he isn't in there.
It may be the same situation as Davey. He played with some other other guys on his teams that he played with. They're in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. Al belongs. I don't understand. I don't understand how these, especially. I don't know how. What writer would not cast a vote on the first ballot for Ken Griffey Jr. to go in the Hall of Fame? How can you not have him a 100% vote? Well, so when it comes to guys like, then you go to the old timers committee. For the life of me, I don't know what these old timers, when they get in there to vote a guy in the Hall of Fame, what they talk about, especially guys from that era. There should be no questions. They should have, okay, here's a list of guys we're going to consider. We got Concepcion, Oliver. Yes. You guys played against them. You know how good they were. You don't have to look at their numbers. You know how great they were. Yeah. So that surprises me that Al's not in there too. Dale Murphy, Al Oliver. When Jerry Hairston, was that who got in last year?
Thank you.
Maybe that's going to open the way up for guys like Al, because if Jerry Hairston's in the Hall of Fame, I think that's who it is. They got in, or was going in this year. Al Oliver's got to be in the Hall, and Dale Murphy too.
Yep, exactly. And with Al, he's a great guy, and of course, he probably was overshadowed by Clemente and Stargell and those kind of guys. So
Yeah.
I understand, your point there too. I mean, I can see some of that.
Yeah.
So, and then Bob says also Dave Parker.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep. But I appreciate you coming on tonight, Darrell. Hopefully, I'll see you at Reds Fest. I don't know if they'll have it this year with everything going on or what happened down there, but hopefully we'll run into each other again, and we'll get to talk some more.
Well, let's pray that we get this thing settled with the virus real quick here. I'm encouraged with the progress with some vaccines. So hopefully by Reds Fest we'll be able to get together again. Look forward to it. I really appreciate you having me on.
No problem, Darrell, and I appreciate you coming on.
All right, sir. Have a good evening.
You too.